Hi there, everybody. My name is Max, and this is Money Matters Season 2. We are underway. I'm excited because we have our first and special guest on here. I'm going to give him an opportunity to introduce himself. Take us away.
Yeah, I'm Peter Gammons, and I'm standing for Mayor of London, running in the elections in May. And it's a new experience for me. I've been a Christian motivational, inspirational speaker for, a lot of years, all around the world. I've addressed conferences in all of London's big venues, in O2, Earls Court, Wembley Arena, and have had offices here in London for over 30 years and seen what I've seen as a decline in London. And so I was invited to stand as Mayor of London, and I thought, well, at first I was surprised when I was invited to stand, and then I thought, why not? Because I've always been somebody who's been fighting for people.
Right. So what's so special about you? I'm going to ask this question, for everyone else to. So why you? Why was you picked? Why was you invited?
I guess partly because I qualified, having had offices here for 30 years, and partly because I've been a social campaigner. I've fought for issues over the years. I've support over 200 charities myself. As an author, I donate 90% of my book sales to charity, and support many charities in London and in England.
Right.
And I like fighting for people. And that's what it's all about. My campaign motto is it's about people, not politics. Right. So I'm not fighting to promote a political party or a political ideology. I'm fighting for London and for all Londoners.
Okay, so just for clarity's sake, what is the actual job of the mayor? What does the mayor do?
The mayor has a budget of...
What we think, well, some people think anyway, the mayor drives around in an expensive car, we don't really see him much, and all this stuff's being built on the roads, and he's not really making London a safer place. So what's the actual job of the mayor?
Well, the job of the mayor should be to make the city successful, to make the city efficient. And
successful in what way?
By encouraging businesses and allowing businesses to succeed, and promoting London for tourism, for business investments, to make the roads efficient, to basically oversee transport for London, to be over the police and crime. And so that's where many people, including myself, feel that the current mayor is failing. He's failed to keep more than 50% of the promises he made. Crime is on the increase. Violent knife crime is a major issue to families and to young people in London.
Right.
And Transport for London has been bankrupted because, in my opinion, it's being run inefficiently. And there's a lot of waste. And so I plan to cut the waste, cut the cronyism, cut the corruption. When I talk about cronyism, there was talk of, in the Times, that the mayor had made $500 million of contracts without going to tender. Over 900 contracts where, for example, say your father, your parents, or yourself, a businessman. Oh, and by the way, I've watched your programs, and it's brilliant what you're doing.
Thank you.
And say you or your family have businesses, they didn't have a chance to be successful. They didn't have a chance to bid on the jobs because and this cronyism is in most of the major parties, where the supporters of the party get the contracts, and I oppose that. So I'm fighting against cronyism, I'm fighting against corruption, I'm fighting for ordinary people who I feel are disadvantaged.
Is it true that the mayor has a £17 billion budget?
I think it's 18.5 billion budget, yes.
Budget to make London a better and safer place.
Yeah. To provide housing, and none of the things that he promised to do, as far as I can see, have been fulfilled.
Let's say you've been given an 18.1 billion pound budget, and you don't exhaust 40% of it. What happens to the rest of the funds? Do you use it on your cars and luxurious living?
No, you don't have an opportunity to spend it yourself, although there are areas, for example, from what I've heard, the mayor spends nearly $1 million a year just on a PR department to make him look good. And they're putting out what a great job he's doing, but never faulting the promises he's made and failed to fulfill. And so, but there are areas, for example, like Transport for London just borrowed another 1.5 billion. Anybody who watches my Twitter will see I put out was funny, or I thought it was, but it was a serious truth, where I said that Khan's provided me with my own private underground and my own private train, because the trains were coming every 2 minutes and they were empty. Whereas, in my opinion, anybody who knows how to run a city, you'd cut 4 out of 5 of the trains and still nobody would have to wait more than 10 minutes, and still you could be socially distanced.
Okay.
But Labour seem to know how to spend other people's money, but don't know how to run things efficiently.
Right. So before we get into the nitty gritty, I just want to speak a little bit about the party you're representing.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you who don't know, Peter Gammons is representing the UKIP party, and I wanted to ask why UKIP? Because you mentioned helping Londoners, and the majority of Londoners are actually, I would say, from what I've seen anyway, I haven't done official research, but it's ethnic minorities. And UKIP seems to be, from what we've seen, again, a racist party. So what would you say about that? Why choose UKIP? Why not form your own party?
Yeah. Well, there have been racists in UKIP, but I think it's unfair to call it a racist party. There are many really wonderful people within it. But you have to understand that UKIP started out as a breakaway from the Liberal Party, and it's a very broad party. There are people from the left to the right. Many people from Labour joined UKIP, people from the Conservatives, right across the spectrum. There was an attempt to take over UKIP by some extreme right, who, in my opinion, were extreme racists. And I could not endorse and condemn the things that they stood for and the things that they said. But they got put out of the party or left the party.
So you're not a racist?
Oh, not at all.
Not at all?
Not at all. Most of my friends are black. I have more black friends than white friends. I've spent much of my life working and heading up projects in Africa and around the world, and my own kids are mixed race kids. So anybody who knows me, and I have over 100 black pastors in London that are endorsing my campaign and behind me. Okay. And many of them, like Andrew Adeleke from Redeemed Church, or Lawrence Tete, who's from Ghana, who introduced me to 2 Ghanaian presidents, or many of the other pastors from the Congolese. Many of the pastors in London have known me 30 years, and they know there's nothing racist about me at all. I'm fighting for them and with them.
So you got the backing of religious bodies. That's what you're saying?
Yeah. Because many of them are being silenced.
Mm-hmm.
And don't have an open voice in London. And I'm fighting for them. I'm fighting for cab drivers. I'm fighting for the cladding victims, who I believe are the victims of dishonest developers and Labour and Conservative local authorities who passed planning permission on buildings that were unsafe, and now these poor people that live in them are being bankrupted because they've been given the bills to make them safe. And almost 4 years after Grenfell Tower, still families with children and people are living in towers that could go up at any moment. They're not safe, and they're expected to pay to bring them up to safety.
So what will you do differently to what Khan is doing at the current moment about that?
Number one, I want to get London efficient again. I want to get London safe again. So I'll be recruiting lots more police, and I'll primarily be recruiting from the BAME communities, from the black, Asian, and minority groups, because I believe that policing an area should be done by people that reflect the ethnicity of that area. I believe it's only going to encourage division if 3 white cops start searching a black kid. I don't think that it's right. I think that the police should reflect the community so that the police are seen to be the friends of the community and not the enemy of the community. So often they're seen to be as the enemy of the community, but the police should be there to protect people and need to realize they are part of the community and need to be part of the community.
Okay, because I don't think just changing the skin color of the police officer will help with.
You have to change attitudes first.
Exactly. So what will you do in terms of dealing with the training of the police officers, how they do discriminate when they see a young black boy in a hoodie driving a nice car? They assume that he's into criminal activities. And what will you do in terms of the training? Because that's something that needs to be addressed within the community, because a lot of young black, not only black, Asian young men are suffering essentially because of that.
Yeah, I know.
And
A
it
white
actually
girl who has
affects-
a black husband. She's done very well in business. She has a Mercedes, and he's always getting pulled over.
Yeah, and
which
that's
is
ridiculous. So
yes,
what will
yes,
you
it
do
is.
differently, and how will you change that within the Met Police?
Yeah, well, it definitely has to be addressed, and people have to. One of the things that I want to introduce, what I call community care workers, who are part of the police, but they're on the ground, they're on the street, they're intermingling with the kids, intermingling with people, discovering what the issues are, discovering what the problems are, because the whole thing has to be changed. The whole mentality of policing has to be changed. I've experienced it myself. I was driving my mother's car when I was young, and I got pulled over the police. They suspected that I'd stolen the car because they didn't associate me with the car. And it was a terrifying experience. I was bullied. Now, many kids experience that on a weekly and daily basis. And so they begin to discover or to think that the police are their enemies. But actually, we have to re-educate everybody, the people and the police, because they should be there to protect and should be there as the friends of the people. But all of these things need addressing. I talked about getting London moving again. The other day when I went to speak at an event in a church, I passed 100 roadworks and nobody was working on them. London has roadworks everywhere and nothing's finished. I say within the first month as mayor, they will either be finished or the companies that are working on them will be fired. Even somebody that stacks at Safeways, somebody that stacks at the supermarket knows that you do it at night when everybody's asleep. You don't try doing the roadworks during the daytime, and these things should be done.
I wanted to kind of dive into the whole eradicate Islamication, that's what it's called, with the UKIP party. I've heard that quite a few times, just eradicate the whole Islam community. Can you dive a little bit into that? Because I feel like it's a very unfair approach, even though this country was founded on, Christianity and Christendom. To eradicate a whole religion just because of, in the name of patriarchy, I think that's a very strange approach. So can you explain that a little bit more, please?
Yeah, there was at one period a leader within UKIP who was very anti-Islam, and if you put it in context, there'd been some major terrorist attacks in England, and feelings were very high at that time. He left the party. The party did not support that. They stood against that extremist view on Islam. And most of the people that were Islamophobic have now left the party. I was one of the ones who addressed the fact that we shouldn't be sidelined as a party because we're there to fight for people, not to fight against certain groups of people. And so thankfully things have been much more peaceful recently, and I hope that will continue. I look at a community like Southall, and I think it's an amazing message to the world where you have people from Muslim, Hindu, Christian backgrounds, Sikh backgrounds, all living together in harmony, and that is a message to the world.
For me, it's
surely
quite,
that can.
I agree, but it's quite alarming because the way I see it is if bees are attracted to a certain place, I would assume there's honey in that environment, right? So if racist people are attracted to the UKIP party, what is it that the UKIP party is standing for that brings all these racist people out of the woods?
I don't think that there's a lot of racists in the party now. There was. I think that
why did they come? What was UKIP
I think they
doing
tried
to bring them on board, to accommodate that?
Well,
sort
they
of
had a
mindset
leader.
and
They had a
behaviour?
leader who was saying things that appealed to them, who's no longer with the party, and they tried to take over the party, and the party was almost destroyed by it, and is recovering from it.
Why did you join the party?
I joined the party because I saw that it was rescuable, because I saw that it could become a mainstream voice for everybody. You see, as I said,
despite the
well, they'd all left. They'd already gone by the time I joined. I've only been with the party 2 years, about 2 years, just over 2 years.
Don't you think what's gone on around the party and in the party is quite damaging to the party?
It did great damage to the party.
So why would you want to associate yourself?
Because
with
I felt
something?
that I've always tried to rescue things and save things. It's always easier to to rescue something and change it than to start something new. It's very hard to start something new. Because I'm running for the party, it's given me a platform to address these issues that we're addressing today that I wouldn't have a voice to address if I was just a lone voice independent out there.
Because what we do see is like Sadiq Khan, he comes on, he's come just like yourself. He said a bunch of things, and we fall for it. And then when he gets to the position, half the stuff that he says he doesn't do, and it keeps happening over and over again. So what's different about you?
Well, the difference is I challenge someone to find any promise I've made that I haven't kept. I keep my promises. I'm not a career politician. I haven't entered politics for political reasons. I have no great ambition to be a politician. I do have a great ambition to change people's lives and make their worlds better.
You
and
can
give
do
them
that
an
by
opportunity
opening
to
a
shine.
charity.
Yeah, well, I will support charities. I do support charities, and I believe that there is a great opportunity for government, for the mayor, to work with local charities. I have ideas, for example, to eliminate homelessness in London, but it will be done hand in hand with the charities in London. I'm looking to build a greater connection of sponsorship from the big businesses of London with the charities and with my projects, because there are so many things which the government are expected to pay for, but which people will pay for, companies will sponsor. For example, my homeless projects, where I can see volunteers coming in to work with the charity sector, dealing with the homelessness. Under me as mayor, no one will have to ever again sleep on the street or go without food.
And you give us your word that if you become mayor, there will be no homeless people on the
I
streets.
believe that I can do it. Now, I have things to challenge. For example,
backtracking now.
No.
We've gone from, I'm going to make sure
Yep.
that there are no homeless people, to, I believe. And this is what the public are tired of.
It's true.
It's like a man. You're just promising.
No, but the problem
to
I have is that that even as mayor, I still have people who try to block my success in the Labour Party and Conservatives. They don't want me to be successful. I have to take over certain properties and buildings, which I will trust that I will be able to do, as I will have a certain measure of control over Transport for London, who own these properties. And it might be a fight on my hand, but I'm not going into it because I'm looking for something easy. But I will fight to take over those places for the homeless and to make
and
everybody's
to
life.
accommodate them.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's your opinion on immigration?
What's my opinion on immigration? Well, you're talking about new people coming into the country?
New people coming into the country.
I do think there needs to be some measure of control, because there's 800,000 families that are homeless in London, and this isn't something that affects everybody from whatever the colour that's going to, whatever background they're from. It is an issue. The National Health is unable to provide it. There are old people who are waiting 2 years to get an operation of all backgrounds. So it's not a racial issue. It's an issue of how can we accommodate them. It's a big issue with young people in London, which is one of the things. One of my plans is to build 100,000 one-bedroom starter homes to give young people a start.
Okay,
and
so
I'll go smaller
young
and things
people,
like
I just
that.
want to focus on the immigration. So
Yeah.
you're saying that there are measures that need to be put in place.
I think there are.
To kind of cap the amount of people that are coming into
I think
the
there
country.
needs to
Is
be.
that what you're saying?
But having said that, I have on my team an immigration lawyer who's working to help people who are already here. I think we need to first focus on the people that are here, including people that haven't got the correct paperwork, and I would fight for them to become British citizens. But I think we have to have some measure of control, because we already have a situation that's out of hand. We have 15,000 people who are former military and are homeless. We have a situation where there are.
So you're saying their priority?
I think they should be. I don't know whether you'd agree with me. I don't know whether our viewers would agree with me. But I think that that as mayor, I have to
we need to
make
look at
my
the vulnerable.
Yeah.
I think we need to focus on the vulnerable, rather than focusing on who's been in the country longer and who's gone to war. I think focusing on the vulnerable. So the people that are coming in, people that are elderly, right? People that are not in a position to take care of themselves. I think those people should be prioritized. It shouldn't be cut into sections of this person is has been in the country longer, has got a British passport, and that one doesn't. So let's prioritize him. I think that's a strange way to approach it. What do you think?
I think as mayor of London, I have to fight first for every Londoner, people that are already in London. The immigration issue is really a government issue. It's not something that the mayor has any control over. My
But you guys have
my
opinions on it.
yeah, well, my thing will be that I've got to look after the people that are here first. I've got to care for them. I've got to check that the young people don't have to leave London because we've outpriced the price of properties and they can't afford to live where their parents live anymore. Right. These are my priority issues. For Londoners, whatever their background, whatever their color, whatever their race, I'm fighting for all Londoners, and that has to be my priority.
Right.
Because there's an out of control problem. There are so many people that need social housing. I think we need to spend a lot more money. For example, Olympic Park could have provided so much housing for people that are homeless, for people that are poor, for people that could get a start on the property market. But instead, most of it's developed as luxury homes. Far too many luxury homes being built compared to homes for young people. These are more issues that I'm fighting for because I feel a responsibility, especially for the children of Londoners, of all backgrounds, because some people, when you use the term Londoners, they think you're talking about a certain group of people.
That's what I wanted to ask you. What is a Londoner? Who is a Londoner?
London is a diverse, wonderful place made up of people from many backgrounds. Well, there are
is it
people
because
that
I live here that I'm a Londoner, or
well, there are people that live here. There are people that are born here. There are people that have adopted London as their home. There are people that have moved here. And so it's a diverse thing. I think the last figures that I looked was 41% of London are from various different ethnic backgrounds, other than people that were traditionally born here or whatever.
So you're saying they get the same amount of priority?
Oh, absolutely.
As people that are born in this country?
Oh, absolutely.
And you give us your word on that?
Absolutely. They're as British as I am. You see, I was involved in a lot of Christian work in different countries of the world, and I've been welcomed in those countries. I've been treated with respect in those countries, and that's what other people deserve too. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I'm not. As I said, my main support base in London is not from the white community. They're not my main supporters by any means. Not at all.
Why?
Why? Because I've not been fighting so much for them. I'm fighting for cab drivers, I'm fighting for university students, I'm fighting for cladding victims and things like that. But these have been my natural friends. And perhaps because I've spoken so much at conferences for Pastor Adeboye and many other of the big groups, big church groups in London, that's where I built such strong affinity and friendships.
All right, so I just wanted to touch on something else. Obviously, I think it's public knowledge that Katie has joined the UKIP party, and she has certain views that are quite, I think quite disgusting, actually. And again, it goes back to what I was saying earlier on. What is attracting these kind of people to this party? I don't see her going towards Labour or Conservatives. So what's your opinion on that?
I think it's because UKIP is such a broad party that unless it won't accept people that have been part of the English Defence League, it won't accept people that have been a part of the nationalist party, these parties. But people that have never been a part of them often find it because they've encouraged freedom of speech. But where do you draw the line with freedom of speech is a very important issue to me. And so it has attracted people who I would not endorse, who I personally dislike their message, think that some of them are rude, think that some of them are offensive, think that some of them are racist, think that some of them are just downright disgusting. Right. And you'd have to have them on your program and challenge them, because I will neither defend them nor speak out for them. But the party is a broad party. As I said, for me, my mother voted Labour, my father voted Liberal, my brother voted Conservative, so I'm right there in the middle, and I will build together a team of non-partisan people. Okay. I'm going to get people from Labour, I'm going to get people from the left, people from the right to work. The issue is not what party they're from, but the issue is who's the best at doing it. But the problem that you have with a party like UKIP is it's so broad, it gets people, but the public only hear, usually, thank you for giving me a voice as a moderate to speak, but so often they only hear what's said by people who are mouthy and people who are what I would call extreme right and people who are racist. Because, of course, the media loves to promote their message, and they use this contentiousness to get media coverage. Right. But thank you that you've had me on, because they don't speak for me. And I personally, if I was the leader of a party, I wouldn't want certain people in the party, but I'm not part of the leadership.
Peter, thank you so much for coming on board. Thank you for sharing your views, because people could have a strange view towards what you're doing and the party you're representing. So thank you. Any last words?
Yeah, just to vote for me and give me a chance, because I can make a difference to everybody's lives, to Londoners. I'm not doing this because I'm looking for a job. I'm doing this because I want to make people's lives better. I want to make London a better, safer place for everybody. And as I said, it's about people. It's not about politics. So go to my website, gammons.london, and check out what I'm standing for. And I think that you'll find that I'm standing for things that are important to you. And communicate with me. Let me know what you want me to do as mayor, because this is the most important thing to me. The mayor is not there, as I think this current mayor is, to force things on people, closing their streets without consulting them. People have access to me. I want to hear people's ideas, because the job of the mayor is to serve the people of London. And vote for me and give me a chance to serve you.
Well, guys, Peter Gammons, I'm Max. Thank you for watching Money Matters.